My name is William, and I am a scientific researcher at the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences in Alnarp. And so for my research, I study the genetics of insect crop pests with focus on those that damage apple, which is a major product here in Skåne. Ever since I saw the movie Jurassic Park as a teenager, I knew that I wanted to be a genetic engineer. But aside from my desire to use the power of genetics to bring big scary monsters back from extinction, I was also inspired by my high school biology teacher and his lessons on the genetic code as blueprint for life. At the Agricultural University, I have successfully taken genes from pest moths and transferred them into the genome of a genetic model organism, the common fruit fly. Doing this allows us to more easily study the genes of the pest moths, and this promotes a better understanding of their basic biology. But above and beyond my passion for fundamental genetics, I believe that we should not just do research for the sake of generating basic knowledge. Rather, that we should strive to put that knowledge to practical use for the betterment of our societies and towards greater economic and environmental sustainability. I've chosen to do research in the agricultural sector because I think that food safety and food security are two very important issues that we will be facing in the 21st century as we adapt to a world with exponentially increasing human population, global climate change, and diminishing non-renewable resources. That is my purpose. The big idea that I'd like to share with you today concerns the complicated relationship between science and technology, and why what we do as scientists is so important. We prefer that the path between scientific discovery and practical application for technology look like this: simple, easy, direct. But in reality, it quite often looks like this: very messy. Sometimes scientific discoveries can even lead to technological advances in seemingly unexpected or unrelated areas. Over the next 10 minutes or so, I will be exploring this idea further. The footprints of science are all around us, hiding in plain sight. The benefits of scientific research blend into the backgrounds of our daily lives and are taken completely for granted. But scientific research is so essential to our collective human civilization that world governments invest billions and billions of dollars in scientific research every year. They even put world-famous scientists on paper money for acknowledgement for their contributions to our societies. Science, however, is not just hidden truths revealed. It's also the methodical process used to uncover the secrets of nature. And while technology is seemingly advancing quite rapidly these days, as our last speaker pointed out, scientific research is painstakingly slow. In this era of instant communication, scientific research is simply not fast enough. And with the breathtaking speed of technological progress, the expectations for science are greater than ever before. there is especially an increasing impatience with the pace at which medical research progresses, having failed year after year to provide cures for diseases such as cancer and Alzheimer's. How much human suffering and devastation result from these, and when will it end? In my own field, economic costs due to insect pests' damage are immense, amounting to billions of dollars every year, and tons of food product damaged and destroyed by insects out in the fields before ever even making it to market. In addition to being slow, scientific research is also very expensive, and you had better believe that those paying for it expect accountability. There is thus a need to demonstrate tangible public benefit resulting from all of the billions and billions invested in scientific research every year. But here's the thing. There isn't always an obvious direct path between science and technology. How then can we as societies know which areas to invest in when the prognosis is so unclear? In the post-World War II era, a scientific advisor to U.S. President Harry Truman answered this question, arguing in favor of investing broad scale in basic scientific research without discrimination or expectation of practicality. And I quote him, "Discoveries pertinent to medical progress have often come from remote and unexpected sources, and it is certain that this will be true in the future." Now I will give a couple of examples illustrating how this has been true. This was one of the first computers ever created, 1946. Maybe one of them could fit up here on stage. Nowadays, however, almost everyone here is likely to have a pocket-sized mini-computer that is far more powerful than the computing equipment that was used to send man to the moon. How did this happen? Well, first, it would not be possible without semiconductors. Semiconductors are almost magical, yet naturally occurring materials that have the properties of both a conductor and insulator of electric current. This makes them incredibly useful. Semiconductors were actually first discovered way back in the 1830s, but it wasn't until advances in quantum physics around 100 years later that semiconductors could be fully understood and eventually applied to integrated circuit boards, giving way to the modern computer. So this is really a story 200 years in the making. The next example is a biotechnology that I will be using in my own research this year. It's called CRISPR-Cas genome editing. You may have heard of it. It's been in the news lately. CRISPR is a very precise gene editing system that holds great promise to cure almost any genetic disease imaginable and solve all of humankind's problems. Okay, so that's a bit of an exaggeration, but here's the thing. The science behind CRISPR technology was not originally focused on discovering a way to edit genes. It's a story that goes back 30 years involving multiple research groups across the globe. First, in 1987, there was the discovery of odd genetic features in the genomes of bacteria. And then, around 20 years later, the demonstration that these genetic features were actually part of a primitive bacterial immune system. And finally, around 2013, a couple of reports showing that these genetic features could be exploited to edit virtually any gene in the genome of virtually any life form. Who could have ever predicted that the immune system of a bacteria could be so useful? And so we will be using CRISPR to edit the genes in our apple pest moths, and this will allow us to understand their genetics in greater detail than we ever could before. So, to wrap things up, my message is this. Scientific progress doesn't happen overnight. The grand outcomes of scientific discoveries are rarely foreseen with great clarity, and the sources of technological advances often cannot be predicted well in advance. Perhaps this is so not due to lack of direction or randomness, but rather that the scientific process reflects human abilities. What is science more than digging beneath the surface, probing at nature, and illuminating the invisible? It's not easy. Genes, atoms, microbes, electromagnetic waves. These things are not intuitive to us because throughout most of our evolutionary history, knowing about them was not necessary for our survival. And it's like out of sight, out of mind. But our shared human civilization has been built upon discovery of the unknown. We wouldn't be where we are in the world today without it. At the Ag University, my group does research on insect pests that damage crops. We aim for better, more environmentally sustainable ways to control insect damage by exploiting the insect's sense of smell to distract and misdirect them from the crops. But our research approach is rooted in the fields of neurobiology, chemistry, genetics, ecology, and evolution. Within the life sciences, these are all very different disciplines with different methods and different objectives. Our contributions to these fields may indeed filter across the scientific community, possibly leading to advances in science and technology that are far removed from controlling insect pests. So my challenge to you is this. Whenever you next see a story on the news or in social media about some ridiculous, absurd-sounding scientific research study, such as the mating ritual of a sea slug, or the study of autism in a fruit fly, remember this. If you dig beneath the surface, you will likely discover that there is a very important purpose for why this basic research is being done. And someday, it may even contribute to making the world a better place. Thank you.